Welcome to a sunny Snet here in Norfolk for round 3 of the Thundersport GB Championships. We've got action coming up here this afternoon from the Thundersport 500s, the Golden Era Superbikes, the Golden Era Supersport and the Street Fighters. So much racing packed into this show. Stay tuned and welcome to Thundersport Plus. So here we are then in Norfolk. The sun has been shining for most of the day. We had a few spots of rain yesterday, but we're just about ready for some racing action here. We'll be seeing these guys out in the Golden Era Supersport shortly. But first up onto the grid, we have the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Superbikes. And there'll be a few Street Fighter Extremes out there we'll keep an eye on also. Ryan Strafford here on the Honda SP2. John Dieterman, number 18 on the Baxi Yamaha. He's the championship leader. And Greg Lewis is out there as well. SMD tyres Yamaha 750, number 46. Richard Blunt, former champion, number 13 there. Just saw Richie Harrison as well. Lots of riders to pick out. Nick Williamson, we just got a glimpse on. Red light, number 6 away from the line we go. A really good start there from second on the grid for John Dieterman, number 18, and into turn 1. Richie's here at Snetterton, and it will be Dieterman with the whole shot. Ryan Strafford just for a moment had to sit up. Through from the second row there, a good solid start for Richard Blunt also. Number 13 on the Portico Racing Kawasaki there. That's red, white and green Kawasaki, and as they go down into Montreal for the first time, everyone through nicely. There's number 121, that black bike, Martin Stanier. He leads the Street Fighters. Number 30 there is Andrew Windsor, who coming into this weekend was 4th overall in the championship. So I mentioned that Dieterman leads. Blunt is 2nd overall in the championship ahead of Strafford and Windsor, but it's Dieterman with the advantage here as we go through Brundle, the left-hander, then Nelson here. Then a short stretch up to the bomb hole here at Snetterton, this 200 circuit layout, the one that most resembles the old Snetterton layout, and further back through the grid there you just get a quick glimpse of number 50 Robert Tucker on the RT Racing Aprilia Mille. He's got an orange bib on. He's a rookie for this season. Greg Lewis there just up ahead of Nick Williamson. Number 6, there's Paul Cunvin just trying to filter his way through. He's one of the Street Fighters. And there's the other, Mick Riddle, number 44 on the green Kawasaki there, rider sponsored or backed by the Royal Air Force Motorsports Association. And he's just ahead of that beautiful Ducati 916, the motivation performance sponsored bike of Brad Davey. It is number 18, John Dieterman, though, that leads. That gap has come down slightly there when he's got company, and it's in the form of his championship rival for this season, Richard Blunt. And I tell you what, Richard Blunt has already done a lot of miles to get himself here. Booked a holiday to go to Spain. Now, I don't know whether he was aware originally that it clashed with the Snetterton weekend. Well, either way, he flew out to Spain a couple of days ago with his wife and his new baby boy, and then dropped off his wife and his son, got back on the plane, flew back to Luton. Dad picked him up. He got here Friday night. He's here to do his racing, and then on Monday, at the end of tonight, should we just say, here at Snetterton, he flies back to Spain again to join up for the rest of the holiday. I'm not sure how happy his wife is about that, but that is full factory. It is number 18, John Dieterman, that has the advantage ahead of the happy holiday traveller Richard Blunt there in 2nd place. Then a bit of a gap opening up to number 57 Ryan Strafford. There he goes on that SP2. Ryan still just getting used to life in this class, having moved up from Street Fighters. Of course, he is the reigning Street Fighter B champion and the Street Fighter Extreme runner-up. A few of the guys he used to play with last season out to play in this race, of course. Martin Stanley a few places back, currently leading the Street Fighter Extreme. So here we go, out of Montreal. The left-hander here onto the back straight is now known as Chapman. And then you can just see there Blunt trying to get into the slipstream. There's Paul Cunvin, number 81, a rider that finished runner-up to Ryan Strafford last year in Street Fighter B and finished third overall in Street Fighter Extreme. He's having a good solid season so far, number 81. Another of our riders sporting the Royal Air Force Motorsports Association banner. He's from Kings Lynn, actually, just down the road, so it's not too far for him to travel home. And there's a rider taking an interesting route. That is number 8, Gareth Skinner. Well, it is a shorter route. Maybe he saw that gaggle of 4 riders and thought, I've had enough of playing with them. I'm going to take the shortcut, and then maybe I can have myself a lonely race as he rejoins over at the bomb hole. Gareth Skinner there, that will have cost him just a bit of time. So still no change in the lead here. Dieterman is with the advantage ahead of Richard Blunt now. Coming into this weekend, the gap between Dieterman and Blunt was just 6 points, but John had a very good day at the office here yesterday, as we see further back here. Martin Stanier, 1-2-1, leading the Street Fighter Extreme class. That's Andrew Windsor just behind him, number 30, 4th overall in the Golden Era Superbike Championship. Number 182 there is Andrew Barling. There is number 8, that was Gareth Skinner. 78 is Dan Bayton. Dan out from Horsham on the DB Racing Kawasaki. And enjoying his racing here at a sunny Snetterton. Dieterman still with disadvantage then. So far we've not seen any major moves coming from Richard Blunt. We've mentioned it so many times before. It's one thing catching a rider and staying with them, but trying to find a place to overtake. And there you see the opportunity. John Dieterman just left the slightest gap as they went around Coram Curve, and Richard Blunt says thank you very much, takes it and now leads as they go onto the start for the straight. But look at the momentum that John Dieterman's got on that Baxi Yamaha, and he shoots back through to take the lead again before they head into turn 1, Richie's. Well, one thing's for sure, John Dieterman certainly knows that he hasn't got a lonely race, as Richard Blunt there has shown his cards for the first time. These two are out front by some considerable distance at the moment. They're right on course. In fact, the lap record is gone. The lap record previously held by ex-British Championship rider Chris Martin has been beaten by John Dieterman there, 1:14.735. So good lap time there from John. These guys right on the money. Ryan Strafford still in 3rd place. And Ryan for this year running the Continental tyres. He's got a bit of sponsorship from them and he's trying things out. So far he's been impressed in dry and wet conditions. There he was, just going through. A bit of a lonely race so far for Ryan, but he has been very, very consistent. And a weekend here with 100% ratio of podiums will do him the world of good. Of course, Ryan Strafford, of course, in the wet at Donington last time out, was a race winner. And so he's proven that those Continentals work well in the wet. There he is, just going across the line now on that SP2. Further back here, just going across the line is number 9 and 46. That's Mike Horbury and Greg Lewis. Then that's Andrew Winter. That's Stanier, Nick Williamson, number 6 following also. So Stanier leading the Street Fighter Extreme. He's a few places up ahead of Paul Cunvin and Mick Riddle. But most of the riders, we just see Dominic Clegg going through. There's Paul Cunvin 2nd, number 81 in the Street Fighter Extremes. Most of the riders that feature in the top 8 or 9 of the championship overall are currently in the top 8 or 9 of this race. You see in the background there that big tree that looks like a scary man, and well, you'll see that when they get back around over towards Montreal. The corner used to be known as Sears. Anyway, out front here, the gap just left open again there from John Dieterman, but this time Richard Blunt decides to stay in 2nd place. Can he get the drive here onto the start-finish straight? That Baxi Yamaha certainly packing quite a lot of power as the last lap flag goes out, and you fear here that Richard Blunt is going to have to get a move done well before Murray's the final turn if he's going to win this. And Richard Blunt, in fact, is going to have to find more than just a few corners here of pace, because John Dieterman is extending that lead, although they've just come up to some traffic at an awkward spot here around Montreal. That's number 50, Robert Tucker, and now this has given Richard Blunt a little opportunity as they go onto the back straight. Can Blunt hold on? That's certainly nothing wrong with the speed of that Yamaha, but they'll have a couple of opportunities left there around Nelson and Brundle, etc., the bomb hole, and then Coram Curve. There's Dan Bayton just up ahead of Mick Riddle. Mick, who's on for 3rd in the Street Fighter Extremes. Here we go then. Richard Blunt running out of time now. He won't get it done through the bomb hole. He's not close enough. Will he have another look now up the inside into Coram Curve? He will. That was beautifully done by Richard Blunt, and John Dieterman says no you don't. He shuts the door on him, and I think that might be it for this first race, unless Blunt has got something else left up his sleeve. They're almost side by side. It's been a good effort there from Richard Blunt as he tries to get in the slipstream of the Yamaha, but the checkered flag is out, and you will see them in a moment. Across the line we go. Dieterman does take the win by just over a quarter of a second from Richard Blunt, but he was kept honest there. A good race between the two, and it looks like they'll be fighting it out for this championship for some time to come. Ryan Strafford has finished in 3rd place. That's another 16 points for him ahead of Greg Lewis. Mike Horbury was 5th in the end ahead of Andrew Windsor. I can tell you further back it was Stanier that won the Street Voters. There is John Dieterman with Richard Blunt on the left and Strafford on the right, and then the Street Voters, there is Stanier, Convin and Riddle. Winner of the Golden Era Superbike race. It's been a very good weekend so far for you, John Dieterman. We had some adverse conditions here at Snetterton yesterday. The sun is out today, but so far 3 wins out of 3.
Yeah, it's been going well this weekend. We did some changes from Donington Park, and they worked. The wet wasn't so bad yesterday. It was bad for everybody, but I enjoyed it. And the afternoon dry race went well, and today's just went well as well. So I destroyed a back tyre in that race, so it was sliding around a bit. And Richard, I love riding with Richard, and he was just nipping up inside of me going to Erpin. But no, a good race. I enjoyed that.
Anyone to thank at all?
I'd like to thank Baxi Heating, especially Paul Lloyd at Baxi. Paul at Visor Vision, John at Fiddy Parts, my dad, Janet, my wife, hello. Yeah, all in all a good weekend. Thanks everybody who's helped us out.
Winner of the Street Fighter Extreme, the champion Martin Stanier. Martin, good to have you back with us here at Snetterton. Sun shining as well, and you're back on the top step. Yeah,
we're getting there. I was telling Sid at Donington there, we've gone on to Pirellis. We're not quite as fast as we were on Dunlops yet, but we're getting there bit by bit, yeah. Had a good race in the rain yesterday, but like I say, we're just struggling with that last little bit of pace on the Pirellis, but for a good tyre, it's just me. Old dog, new tricks and all that. So yeah, a few more clicks on the suspension and we should go a bit better next one. We're getting there, bit by bit.
Anyone to thank?
Just family and friends, really. Andy Plastic's been helping out since he's packed up. And everybody at Thundersport.
Thanks to you as well, Martin. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back with more racing action here from Snetterton after this break. Welcome back here to Snetterton for Thundersport Plus, and now on the grid. We've seen the Golden Era Superbikes, now it's time for the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Supersport and Steel Sports. This is James Narge, who's out to play. We saw him earlier on in the season, looking to pick up some points. Carl Foster is the championship leader overall. That's Ryan Cooper, who had a very solid outing at Donington Park last time out. Number 36 there is Mark Foster, that's Carl's brother, and 24 is Andy Scanlon, the orange bike rider from Thatcham, on the Stubble Racing Yamaha, who had an excellent race out at Donington Indoor Wets just a couple of weeks ago. A few wheelies going on there though, particularly from number 36 Mark Foster, who didn't get away from the line well. It's James Narge, number 112, that gets off to the best start possible. James Narge from Barton Leclerc on the Steelmate Racing Yamaha has got this advantage then. Rider with a blue Yamaha R6 and the yellow helmet, just up ahead of championship leader Carl Foster. Then his brother, just to make my life even more difficult, Mark Foster gets himself up into 3rd place overall. Other riders to keep an eye out for, Robert Goodall is a rider that we've seen so often featuring at the sharp end, number 75. He's won a few races so far this year, but it's Narge that has the lead as they go through the old S's. There is Cooper in 4th place. In 5th is Martin Bloomfield. You'll see Martin is easy to spot. He's got the white Yamaha R6 and the Dayglow yellow front mudguard. There's Phil Cox just going through there. It's Sam Cox's dad. Phil having immense fun out there on a Yamaha, I'm sure. In fact, it's Phil's wife and Sam's mum's birthday, Steph. So happy birthday to Steph. Hope you're well. There's Jack Haverkamp, number 19. Jack, who's currently 2nd overall in the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Steel Sport Championship points overall. They're for the steel framed machines that are out there amongst these. They still score points overall within the Golden Era Supersport, but they also have their own cup, and Jack Haverkamp at the moment it is that looks like he's going to be topping them. He's out there fighting along with Andy Whale, Chris Spink at the moment, John Dunn. We've seen Brad Davey up there a few times as well. Paul St Kiss, another rider just to look out for. He's sporting the number 99. There is 1-1-2 though. James Narge on the Yamaha, so far in control of things and untroubled. In second place is number 18, Carl Foster from Scunthorpe on the Yamaha. Then in third is his brother Mark. And then in fourth place it is Cooper, Ryan Cooper, number 26, Ryan from Leeds on the Race HQ Yamaha. So through Murray's, this left-hander. I'm not sure whether I'm really a massive fan of this left-hander Murray's since it's changed from Russell Chicane. They're on their right a lot longer around Coram Curve, and we've seen one or two moments through here that put your heart in your mouth. If you missed Thundersport GB action in terms of Thundersport Elite, which was on these screens a week or two ago, then you would have missed some drama going on around that corner there. It can be quite hectic. This is the front of the battle though for the Golden Era Supersport. You can see there the two Yamahas out front. Yamaha definitely the weapon of choice in this championship so far for this season, although Robert Goodall is a rider that we're expecting to see normally out there fighting away. This is number 49, that's Andy Whale from Birmingham. Andy at the moment just inside the top 10 overall. He's ahead of David Weston and John Dunn, having a good race out there, the rider from Brum. There's Martin Bloomfield, number 28, just up ahead of number 2. Sam Nicholson, a regular in the Thundersport paddock, a rider from Nottingham on the Motorpoint Derby Yamaha R6. So it's still Narge and Foster. This is similar to what we saw in the Golden Era Superbike race earlier on, with Dieterman leading from Richard Blunt. Foster just not quite able to make the inroads at the moment, but they've built a massive gap back now to Cooper, who's gone into third place ahead of Mark Foster, the brother of Carl. So Cooper there is going to do his championship a few favours. Robert Goodall, by the way, I understand we've just had news that he pulled off the grid at the start of the race, and he has done. Now that will be very costly indeed for him in the championship. He came into this weekend second overall and he didn't make it away, so there was a problem for him on the warm-up lap, I believe. Robert Goodall has not made it into this race. We just see there, it was a bit froppany bit, wasn't it, from Sam Nicholson. There's number 4, Peter Lodge from Cambridge, and then number 12, nicely turned out Yamaha there. That's Gary Cooper, who I can only assume is related to Ryan Cooper because they've got the same bike design, same colours, beautifully turned out, and the same surname, and they hail from the same place. Whether they're brothers or whether they're father and son, I will find out, ready for you, when we get to Cadwell Park, which is our next round. But across the line here in this race, it is still James Narge, number 112, that has this advantage ahead of Foster. He's not been able to shake Foster off though, and that last time around, Carl Foster was in fact just a couple of tenths quicker than Narge, and you can see there that the gap has come down. There is number 24, the orange bike. That is Andy Scanlon, the race winner in the wet last time out at Donington. There's Jack Haverkamp, number 19, currently leading the steel frame. He's up inside the top 10, a rookie for this season. Proper character off circuit as well, and really enjoying his racing this year, although he said he was a little bit frightened about the fact that there seems to be some even more sturdy competition heading its way into this championship as the season progresses. There are an awful lot of riders, you know, that do wait until around May, June before they actually start their racing season. They come out of hibernation, and so we're expecting to see a few more spring up at Cadwell next month. That weekend, if you want to come and watch it live, is the last weekend of May, and I believe the actual TV race day falls on the 1st of June, and then it will appear on TV once again a few weeks later. Across the line there you see, and that gap has opened up now. Number 112, James Narge, has dealt with some back markers very well indeed. Their lap times at the moment, let me just give you an idea as to how quickly these guys are going in comparison to previous years in Golden Era Supersport. The lap record belonged to Lee Longdon from a couple of seasons ago, a 119 flat. The new lap record at the moment is a 115.8. It's fair to say that everyone well under the pace, in fact the top 8, all of them under lap record pace. There is Andy Scanlon once more, currently in 5th place. Ryan Cooper still in 3rd ahead of Mark Foster. Those two just split by about a second. There is Andy Whale at the moment, who's actually leading now, the steel framed, up ahead of Jack Haverkamp. So Haverkamp here really embroiled in a fantastic battle. These guys are actually in 8th, 9th and 10th overall. Chris Spink isn't far away. Chris on the black bike number 142 a bit further back. This is Carl Foster though, number 18, onto the start-finish straight here, the centre straight at Snet. Last lap flag is out, and well, Carl Foster's got a mountain to climb here if he wants to close down James Narge, but considering that James Narge entering the weekend hadn't actually got himself into the top 10 of the championship overall, there is a very good chance that Carl Foster's going to extend his championship lead by some distance here, especially with Goodall not through. We just saw a moment ago Ryan Cooper in 3rd place. That's Martin Bloomfield. Martin is in 6th overall. And there is number 36, Mark Foster, who's just struggling at the moment to stay on the tail of Cooper. This is the battle for 3rd place. It looks like Narge is going to have 25 points in the bag. He has a look under his arm there between the right-hander Nelson, and then the bomb hole just runs slightly wide. He's not going to be able to roll off the throttle because Foster is there to pick up the pieces should it go wrong. And in fact, on this final lap, I'm not sure if Narge has just been cruising a little. Foster has definitely closed it down, and as we come to the start-finish line here, Narge has done just enough to see off Carl Foster, the championship leader. This is Bloomfield up ahead of Sam Nicholson. This is the battle for 6th and 7th, and that doesn't look like it's going to change. The Yamahas all the way through the top 7, and the checkered flag is out. The win goes to James Narge ahead of Carl Foster, and it will be Ryan Cooper who will go across the line surely in 3rd place ahead of Mark Foster. There is the winner of the steel frame, Jack Haverkamp, number 19. He finishes up ahead of Chris Spink, number 142. Confirmation of the top 6 then. Narge wins it, half a second clear of Carl Foster. Ryan Cooper in 3rd ahead of Mark Foster. Andy Scanlon, who won at Donington, finishes in 5th. And then Martin Bloomfield 6th. There's the top 3, Narge, Foster on the left, Cooper on the right. And in the steel frames is Jack Haverkamp, the winner, from Chris Spink and John Dunn. Winner there, James Narge. James, really good result for you there. It's stiff competition this year, but you're up on the top step.
Yeah, it was a very hard race. Pushed all the way to the end. There was a bit of confusion, but got there in the end and got the win, so very happy with it.
Anyone to thank at all?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mark Draper from Haybuck Motorcycles, Steve Go from Motorscott, and a big thank you to Kev from Steelmate.
Jack Haverkamp, good to see you on the top step here today. Beautiful day for racing. How did you find it out there?
It's a lot better at Snetterton than Donington in the wet. I always seem to crash at Donington in the wet. I'm not a wet weather man, so now it's dried out. I'm on my game, but the competition seems to have woken up.
And is there anyone to thank at all?
My old man again for building me engines because I keep blowing them up, motorcycle tyre services, and Crank Racing for helping with my pit board.
Packed out grid in the next race. Join us in a few moments for the Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500s. Welcome back to Snetterton here, the Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500s next up. Well, we're running out of good words to say about this championship, aren't we, here, as Joe Barton, championship leader, sits on pole position. What a series this has been over the last few years. Richard Blunt there, number 13. You'll have seen him out earlier on in the Golden Era Superbikes. He's out in this as well. Rob Morby on the Racing Lines Derby Thundersport 500, currently leading the Senior Cup, the champion of that class as well. Now we've got a couple of cameras on the two brothers there. 121, Josh Leaning, and his brother Will, number 32. So here we go then, the green flag is being waved at the back, and we are ready to go. A decent start there from everyone on the front row as these 500s roar down towards Richie's corner. The blue bike there, number 96, coming into the picture is Jack Tynan. It's Joe Barton though with the whole shot ahead of Richard Blunt, and then Josh Leaning up ahead of his brother Jack Tynan, Will Leaning. You can just see a couple of places back. Someone's gone straight on already. That is a long way around Richie's corner. Who is that? Can't quite see at the moment. Get confirmation of that in a moment. We're now on board with Will Leaning, and he's down already. We've put an onboard camera on him, and he's gone down. Is that into Montreal? Oh no! A disaster then for Will, number 32, and he wheels his bike away. He's up and he's all right, but with so many bikes heading into the turn there, he's had to erase himself from the picture here. That's a shame for us as well, because we had a camera on him, but the camera's in proper condition. We haven't got any problems with that. And most importantly, Will is okay. Across towards the bomb hole we go, and it's still Joe Barton that has this advantage. Further back there, number 2, Elliot Humphrey from Scunthorpe on the Rat Out Racing Honda. A couple of those team riders out, but it's Joe Barton who's been so strong at the start of this campaign that has the early advantage. Joe Barton, who started life out in the 500s with us, moved on from actually Kawasaki 500 into the 600 class and has come back again, much like Lewis Osler, we just saw a moment ago, number 82. Great rear-facing camera here on board Josh Leaning as we head down into turn 1, and he's overtaken Richard Blunt there. You'll see these Thundersport 500 riders tucking their arms behind the front number boards, behind their back, trying to get as much slipstream as physically possible. Barton leads from Josh Leaning. Number 13 there is Richard Blunt, and then that rusty looking bike just behind is number 92, Pete Bardell, who of course was pretty strong back at Donington and is quite a quick rider. Here we see Richard Blunt from the rear seat unit of Josh Leaning as we now head into the left-hander here. This is a great shot. It's like, Blunt looks like the Stig, doesn't he, from that camera angle? And then we go left before tipping right now into Nelson and then up towards the bomb hole. Pete Bardell there looking to make progress as well. Number 53 we just got a glimpse of. That was Rob Morby. There's number 82, Lewis Osler from Wakefield. Not quite where he wants to be so far this season, but it's a long old year. This is Joe Barton that has the advantage so far. Number 106 out there on the HB Motorcycles Honda. Oh, and that's not the quickest way down there. And he's gone onto the grass and he's lost it. And now it is Josh Leaning that has the lead as he goes across the line here ahead of Blunt. And then that looks like Pete Bardell has got into 3rd place ahead of Joe Barton as well. Jack Tynan there on the Sky Blue bike, number 96, just in 5th place before quite a big gap back to the rest of the field, including the likes of Sam Smith, Jonathan Perry, Rob Morby leading the Senior Cup. But this is great stuff for number 121, Josh Leaning, and now Pete Bardell has gone into 2nd place, and Joe Barton gets close and personal with Jack Tynan around Chapman Curve before heading up onto the back straight. Now Joe Barton with a bit of ground to make up again. This really will test the championship leader here. On board with Josh Leaning again. There's Pete Bardell in 2nd when he was in 2nd. He won't be for much longer. He might even drop down to 3rd as Bardell, number 92, and Richard Blunt go up underneath him. That was a bit of a line entry there from Josh Leaning, and he's paid the price for that. He's now in 3rd place, or is he? Because Joe Barton's having a look at the inside of him. Great racing as ever here from these Thundersport 500s with Thundersport GB. Further back there you can see those guys desperately trying to become a part of this leading fight overall, but Pete Bardell it is, who won a race late last year, came into this season hoping that he could fight for the championship. He's had an up and down start to the season, but he does have a chance still to win it. It's a long year. There you can see a great example of Joe Barton with his hand on the tank there, just behind the number board, trying to get that slipstream, and he goes past Josh Leaning into turn 1. I do love that camera angle, and he looks over the back of his shoulder there and can't quite see Jack Tynan, because just as he looks over his shoulder, Jack Tynan's going up underneath him. Richard Blunt goes wide there and he's lost a place, and Barton has now gone back into 2nd place. Jack Tynan, there he is with the light blue bike and the bright yellow wheels, has gone up into 4th place ahead of Josh Leaning. Further back there is number 17, Dave Moss, up ahead of 28. That's Stephen Wood from Rowley Regis on the SW Racing Honda. Dave Moss, by the way. Oh, and we've got a rider down. That's Lara Small, number 54 from Derby on the LS Racing Honda. She's gone down. Just mentioned Dave Moss. He's one of our Senior Cup riders. He's currently fighting to get himself onto that Senior Cup podium overall. There's been a change out front though. Jack Tynan, has he got himself up into 2nd place? He has, yes, he's up ahead there of Joe Barton. Pete Bardell it is that leads. There's a rider down there in the middle of the grass. And that's some travelling that someone's done there from the exit of Corums. And that looked like Richard Blunt's got some trouble here as he's struggling to get that bike into gear. Josh Leaning is now up alongside him. Now, across the line we go, and that looks like Jack Tynan's leading as we go across the line. We're on board with Josh Leaning at the moment, and he's in 5th place. That is Richard Blunt. He's just going around the outside of, who is struggling for traction, and Jack Tynan it is that leads. ahead of Pete Bardell here in this first race. In third place is championship leader Joe Barton. Then it's Leaning, then it's Blunt. They're coming up to some traffic shortly into Montreal. Jack Tynan struggling to get that 500 stopped, and he just lost out on first place and nearly lost third as well too. Series leader Barton. I can barely hold my breath here through this fascinating Thundersport 500 race here, sponsored by Nationwide Traffic Solutions. There's Colin Mooney, one of our senior cup riders, just ahead there of number 45, that's Chris White, and number 181 is Neil Watson, one of our British Army riders. This is the leading pack though, just going underneath backmarker Carl Sant. Pete Bardell has managed to get a bit of air between himself and Jack Tynan there in second place. There's Lewis Osler and John O'Toole. I should just say a massive congratulations to John O'Toole, who's just become a father. Congratulations to the Haslams and the O'Tooles. John's wife Emma just giving birth to baby girl Harper, so congrats to everyone involved. I wonder who that rider is that's gone down over there. We've lost Robert Tone a moment ago. I wonder if that was Robert maybe. Either way, let's focus on the leading bunch at the moment as we head down into Montreal. It's Pete Bardell there that leads, number 92, just sitting up a back marker there. Number 71, David Heppenstall, has seen this leading five come through and is sat up nicely. Pete Bardell has a good look over his shoulder to see who he's got for company. That there is 101 Colin Mooney, up ahead of number 70 Matt Snow. On the Rat Out Racing Honda. Cole Mooney at the moment is on for second in the Senior Cup. Rob Morby it is that looks like he's going to take the win so far. It's Bardell that leads now from Barton, as Barton has gone up into second ahead of Jack Tynan. These three now spreading themselves out and getting away from Josh Leaning and Richard Blunt in fourth and fifth place, who are having a proper fight there as they head around Coram Curve now down into Murray's. Bardell, you don't want to look over your shoulder anymore because you have got some major company. Championship leader Joe Barton is coming up alongside them, and the last lap flag is out now, and look at them, they're side by side, and as we went across the line that time, Joe Barton it was with the advantage. Jack Tynan now moves up into second place, so Pete Bardell in the space of about 2.5 seconds has gone from first to third. Spectacular racing in the Thundersport 500s for 2015. Bardell has been hung around the outside there, that'll be hard work. Joe Barton might have just timed this to perfection. Jack Tynan in second place. What about Leaning and Blunt further back? Look at the drive that Jack Tynan's got there. It's either that or Joe Barton's missed a gear or something. Something's gone wrong there for Barton. And they're three abreast as they come down the back straight and into the left-hander here at Brundle. And that is Elliot Humphrey, who's about to get caught up in this one. Jack Tynan it is that has the advantage and sits up. Elliot Humphrey, Bardell in second place. Joe Barton has lost some ground here on this final lap. Jack Tynan, it looks like, might just be in for a race win possibly. Josh Leaning's now coming in on the action as well. Oh, and he just gets his nose chopped off, and there's a change out front, and Bardell is now leading again. Number 92 into Murray's for the final time, and Pete Bardell here, provided he clicks all his gears together rightly, he should be up for the win, and Barton there almost lost it completely. He goes elbow to elbow with Blunt now for the podium, and we're on board with Josh Leaning, who's in fifth place, and he gets the pair of them and takes the podium. Bardell wins from Jack Tynan. Josh Leaning third, and there you can see it. When you win races like that, that's how much it means. That was utterly fantastic and jaw-dropping racing from these Thundersport 500s. We'll have more of that, please, throughout this season. Bardell wins from Tynan. Josh Leaning third, Joe Barton fourth, Richard Blunt finishes fifth, and Sam Smith back in sixth place. 1.3 seconds covering the top three. There's Bardell with Jack Tynan on the left, and on the right there is Josh Leaning. And in the seniors, it's Rob Morby with another win ahead of Cole Mooney and Stephen Hall. Winner of the first race here on TV Day, Pete Bardell. You get yourself in some scrapes, you do, Pete. There's all sorts going on here this weekend, but you got yourself on the top step finally.
Yeah, I thought I might not get on here, but yeah, it turns out I did, so absolutely made up, chuffed. Awesome race. Can't say any more than that.
No, this racing is absolutely superb. Obviously, each lap there's a different leader. It's fantastic to watch. It must be very enjoyable to be a part of.
I think it's the best class in the paddock, you know. It's always close, there's always a race front to the back. Everyone's in a tussle, everyone has a story to tell at the end of the weekend. We're all good mates out there as well, and it's, you know, absolutely fantastic. We love it.
Anyone to thank at all?
My wife Lou nearly wasn't here this weekend, so yeah, my little boy Finn, I love you. Jack Tynan, Pat Tynan, Chris Ashfield, Sam Smith, all my mates. Yeah, that's it really. Thanks very much.
Winner of the Senior Cup, the defending champion, and so far, full house. Looking very good for you, Rob.
Yeah, everything's going well. We had a bit of a difficult round at Donington, but still managed to come out on top. My lap time's a bit happier this weekend, so everything's going well. I'm looking forward to the last race of the day, looking for another win.
Anyone to thank at all?
Yeah, my partner Jane, who's looking after us, Chris Johnson, who's helped me with the bikes all the time, and just everybody who's come to support me this weekend. We'll have a great weekend with you chaps.
Yeah, well done to Rob there. We've got another one of those coming up later as well. Stay tuned, we'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Snetterton, and now it's time for race 2 for the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Superbikes and the Street Fighter Extreme. Here is Ryan Strafford, number 57. Strafford Racing 1000, or should we call him Borat? Those of you on Facebook, take a look at Ryan Strafford's Facebook page. He will be picking up that nickname from here on in. John Dieterman second on the grid, number 18, the championship leader, winner earlier on. Greg Lewis also on the front row, he'll be looking for another top 5. There is Mike Horbury, number 9, just pointing towards his Sargent Electrical sponsorship on the front of his bike. So all eyes on the lights on the right there at the top, and the lights go out and start there for John Dieterman, number 18. Number 13 there, Richard Blunt, trying to find a way through. The rider that was second earlier on, Greg Lewis it is that gets second ahead of Blunt, and then Ryan Strafford. So Dieterman it is that looks for 4 out of 4 here this weekend to extend his championship lead overall. We head to Cadwell at the end of this month here, and it is Dieterman from Lewis, and Ryan Strafford there just going slightly wide as all of these guys make their way through there. It's Brad Davey, and Brad Davey on the front end of Brad Davey there. I should say the back end of his has caught the front end of Gareth Skinner, number 8 from Hurst Green, the Army rider. He's up and walking away. Well, his sat-nav went wrong in race 1 and he's been wiped out of race 2. It's not been a great day at the office for him, and so he'll just have to get some better fortune next time out. It's the usual case where rear wheel versus front wheel has played a part, and I'm afraid rear wheel always wins. It is number 18, John Dieterman, with disadvantage as they head into Morris for the first time, ahead of Blunt, who's gone ahead now of Greg Lewis. Then it's Strafford, then it's Williamson, Horbury, Stanier, Dominic Clegg and Windsor. Stanier is leading the Street Fighter Extreme. There's Vince Carlton, then number 78, Dan Baton. Then it's number 86, John Gibson from Peterborough on the 2GC Racing Ducati. But it's Dieterman on the YZF 750 that has this early advantage from the Kawasaki. In fact, 2 Yamahas there in the top 3 with Greg Lewis just in 3rd. And then you've got Strafford on the SP2, followed by another Honda, Williamson, then a Suzuki of Horbury. There's another Suzuki there, number 48, Richie Harrison from Cleesbury on the Melted Sliders Suzuki. That bike there is the championship winning bike of last year that belonged to Shane Pearson, who's now moved on to the Thundersport GP1 class. Dieterman leads from Richard Blunt. Now, after what we saw in race 1, Blunt will want to get himself out front as early as possible this time around. There is Andrew Windsor, number 30, just behind Stanier, who leads the Street Fighter Extreme. These two already proving that they are the cream of the crop in the early stages of 2015. Already a big gap, but there you see the Baxi Yamaha just struggling to keep the front wheel down, and that will give Blunt a little bit of an advantage. In 3rd place is Ryan Strafford. No, it's Greg Lewis, then Ryan Strafford in 4th, but it's Dieterman, number 18, that has this advantage from the rider from Preston up ahead of Richard Blunt. A busy schedule this weekend for Blunt, who of course you just saw in that epic scrap in the Thundersport 500s a few moments ago. Onto the back straight we go. Very good drive there from Richard Blunt as he tipped left and got straight on the power, and he needs every advantage he can get. There's Paul Cunliffe, number 81, second in the Street Fighter Extreme, but someone just behind him went straight on into Montreal. They will have been able to probably recover that, but there we see a change for the lead. Lovely there from Richard Blunt, and that started all the way back from Montreal there, where he got that brilliant drive, but he just lost a bit of momentum. He shuts the door though into the bomb hole, and Richard Blunt it is, leads now probably for as much time as he's led all weekend, ahead of John Dieterman. They come down into Murray's There's a bit of traffic just ahead of them, but it shouldn't get in their way, although it nearly did. I don't know what was happening there. Number 111, Chris Hayden, almost getting himself tangled up. There's Paul Cunvin ahead of 34, Adrian Teasdale. Then it's Richard Harrison. Number 55 is Chris Satwell. Then it's 37, Vince Carlton. That's 78, Dan Bayton. And that's your top 15 or 16. Andrew Barling, also another rider not to miss out. Number 182. This is your race leader though. So Richard Blunt here has gone out front and is trying to pull away now from John Dieterman. This could just be a bit of a confidence booster as we head into Cadwell. Bearing in mind Dieterman has won 3 out of 3 so far. If Blunt can win the last race, it'll give him so much confidence when we get to Cadwell to try and potentially overturn the championship table as it stands, because Dieterman will head there with a series lead no matter what happens in this race. Ryan Strafford, meanwhile, currently got a bit of work to do to find his way onto the podium ahead of Greg Lewis. There's Stania, 121, the reigning Street Fighter Extreme champion, and currently the Stoke-on-Trent rider. Missed around this year, so he's playing catch-up to try and defend it. That's number 44, Mick Riddle, who's currently third in the Street Fighter Extremes in this race behind Cunvin, and Stania is just behind Brad Davey in the race at the moment. Blunt it is that leads, number 13 on the Portico Sports Kawasaki. These two bikes are wonderfully turned out, aren't they? The Baxi Yamaha there in second, and there is Ryan Strafford, number 57. Continental sponsorship, he's now up into third ahead of Greg Lewis, so Strafford on for another podium. There's Cunvin on the right, number 81, up ahead of 17, Lawrence Barry. Nice to see Lawrence having some fun out there on the Britannia Wipers Yamaha 750. Always looks like he has a good weekend and enjoys himself. He's always got a massive smile on his face at the end of a day's racing. It's Blunt though that will have an even bigger smile if things stay the way they are, and they're coming up to lap for the second time, number 11, Chris Hayden. Now Chris got himself almost caught up in some drama down into Murray's earlier on. Hopefully the same won't happen again. No, they've managed to get past him before Murray's this time, so no dramas. Blunt it is that still leads then. Across the line, just about a tenth or two ahead of John Dieterman, who will be there to pick up the pieces. And at the moment, John Dieterman might just still fancy this. The Yamaha YZF 750 does have that slight edge on power, and so if he can get himself out of this left-hander here, Chapman, well, he might just be able to get in the slipstream of Blunt and power past, but he's struggling to get the power down on that, and the front wheel comes up once again. Blunt here doing an excellent job out front. This is the fight for third. That's Greg Lewis in fourth, number 46. Just ahead of him, as they get past some traffic, is Ryan Strafford. Back to the front though, number 13 versus number 18. Richard Blunt second in the championship, ahead so far of the leader overall. Another bit of traffic for them to deal with now as they come around Coram Curve. There is Strafford, who's just opened up maybe another tenth or two, and there is Andrew Windsor getting himself past 111 Chris Hayden. Well, if nothing else, Chris, you're getting yourself plenty of TV time here at the moment as you're surrounded by some of these riders. There is Martin Stania leading still the Street Fighter Extreme class here at Snetterton. Beautiful day here at Snet, and it's still Blunt with this advantage. Around Ritchie's we go. Now the last lap flag is out, so this will be the last chance for Dieterman. Around Montreal we go, ahead of John Dieterman. Strafford looks set for third, so there'll be 4 podiums out of 4 for him. There he is, up ahead of Greg Lewis, who's in 5th place. Andrew Windsor's done well, actually. He's closed that gap down in 5th, number 30 we just saw. Then there's Mike Horbury and Nick Williamson very close together. Then Stania, 1-2-1, rider from Stoke-on-Trent, is looking good here for another 25 points in the Street Fighter Extreme Championship. There is Blunt though, as he filters his way past John Gibson. He's going to get the 25 points here, and although Dieterman will have the advantage overall, this will be a massive confidence booster for Richard Blunt. There is Stania, he's going to take 25 points also in Street Fighter Extreme, and further back a bit more fighting going on as Richard Harrison there just having a good race with Paul Cunvin, who's going to take second in Street Fighter Extreme. Checkered flag is out then, Blunt takes it from Dieterman. A good result there for Richard Blunt, 25 points overall. In the background, it is Ryan Stafford that takes third place ahead of Greg Lewis. Andrew Windsor finishes in 5th and Mike Horbury in 6th. So far though, it's looking like the battle is between Blunt and Dieterman in the championship, although you cannot count Ryan Stafford out as the season goes on. There's the top 3, Blunt there in the middle, Dieterman on the left and Ryan Stafford on the right, and in the Street Fighter Extreme it's Stanier there with Cunlin and Mick Riddle. So what about the points? We head to Lincolnshire at the end of the month. Dieterman it is with a 45-point lead ahead of Richard Blunt. Ryan Strafford is then in 3rd, not too far adrift. Windsor 4th, Williamson 5th, and then in the Street Fighter Extreme, Paul Cunvin it is that has a 40-point lead over Mick Riddle. Martin Stanier there in 3rd. That could get close at Cadwell. Winner of race 2 in the Golden Era Superbikes, Richard Blunt. John Dieterman has been on top in this championship so far this season and most of this weekend, but you've managed to get yourself 25 points here. It's been a bit of a hectic weekend for you though. You came over from Spain a couple of days ago, so just tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I may have made a bit of a mishap not realising that we were racing this weekend, and a holiday was sorted for the family. So my beautiful, lovely other half has allowed me to come away racing for the weekend after dropping him off, returning back from Spain the same day. So it's been hectic, and then to turn up, and John's been on form as usual, and he is definitely Mr. Consistent. So it's been hard work just to keep up with him. So really nice to beat him. So,
And I'm sure you got a few people to thank, with your wife being top of the list, of course.
Obviously, definitely the other half, because allowing me to come and race here and enjoy myself, and of course I'll enjoy myself when I get back there as well. But yeah, massive thanks to the guys who've been prepping the bike, and the organisers and everyone else, but especially Rock Oil who've been supporting us, Hell Brake Lines, DP Pads, my dad at DP Telecoms, who else we've got, Equine Motorcycles, Eric's been helping out massively, and Bob, who was here this weekend, he had been riding the bike, but I managed to wreck a bike earlier, and luckily he's given up his ride and he's now I think enjoying himself around the track. But yeah, massive thanks to him, Eric as well for letting us use the workshop, and Mr. Pearson for sorting out the bike. I'm sure there's others I missed, but yeah, thanks to everyone. It's
well done.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere, folks. Still more racing to come here from Snetterton after the break. The Golden Era Supersports. Welcome back to Snetterton then. It's time for race 2, the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Supersport class, with the corresponding Superbike class. Some of the most memorable racing that you'll probably remember before all the electronics, etc. came out were the Supersport days of old. Certainly remember back when the Supersport class first came into the World Superbike paddock with the likes of Casoli and Whittam fighting it out, and well, there's a lot of riders that have chosen to go out there on these Yamahas, which is proving incredibly popular at the moment, and the weapon of choice in this championship. There are also the steel frames to look out for. We saw Jack Cavercamp pick up the win earlier on, number 19 on that Honda CBI. You can see him there, the blue bike, orange pin. Newcomer to this season, but it is championship leader Carl Foster that looks like he might just fancy the lead. No, oh yes he does. He gets himself just ahead there of James Narge, who was the race winner from earlier on. In third place there, just taking the left line, which is the wider entry point to Montreal, was Ryan Cooper, and Carl Foster's gone straight on, and so he's not managed to get his bike stopped, and his brother there also went straight on. Mark Foster, so Carl and Mark there just following each other through Montreal, and they've got a bit of work to do in the early stages. We see there Martin Bloomfield with the white bike and the yellow trim. It's Narge that leads from Cooper, number 26 in second there. Narge then won't be troubled by Carl Foster, certainly not in the early stages. Cooper 26 is second. Then it's Robert Goodall, of course, who was missing from that first race because of some sort of technical problem for him when he got down on the grid, so Goodall himself needs to get some bulky points here. There's number 118, Craig Moffat on the BBB Racing Yamaha, but it's James Narge that's settling quickest. Well, I say that, he just struggled there on the exit of Murray's. Goodall there in third place, up ahead of the orange bike of Andy Scanlon. There is Bloomfield, number 28, had a few podiums in this class last year. Across the line we go then. We just saw there Mark Foster and Carl Foster still in and around the top 7 or 8, but a lot of work to do, and in truth it would take a massive mistake from James Narge here. Oh, and we've got a rider down here into turn 1. That's a horrible sound, and that is a horrible crash, and it is Andy Whale that has gone down and pretty much destroyed his Yamaha R6 down into turn 1 there. That was a quick place to go down. I know what it feels like. Luckily for him, there's no potato field directly in front of him these days, but Andy Whale there has gone down. It's such a quick corner there. You just drop down a couple of gears, and we seem to have a stationary yellow flag out as we enter the S's here as well, so maybe someone else has had a bit of a hiccup somewhere around here, but Andy Whale has gone down and out of this race. The rider is up and okay. We just saw there Carl Foster, number 18, who after going wide earlier has managed to get himself up now into 3rd place overall. Now, who is that? Is that Ryan Cooper? I think it is. Ryan Cooper, who was in 2nd place earlier on. Now, what's happened there? There's some sort of an issue, and that's what the stationary yellow was for. And so Ryan Cooper is really going to lose out on some massive points here. So Carl Foster, despite running wide earlier, well, this has worked out rather well for him. Across the line there goes James Narge. Then it's Goodall, then it's Foster, and then Scanlon. Now, Robert Goodall in 2nd is Carl Foster's nearest championship rival, although it would be just worth pointing out at this moment in time as we see number 36 there, Mark Foster, looking to make up some ground, going underneath Sam Nicholson, and now up behind Martin Bloomfield. It would be fair to say that if James Narge continues this form on for the rest of the year, that he might just put his name in the frame overall as well. There is number 50. We saw just a second ago John Dunn, and Steve Simpkiss is out there as well, number 54. It's 75 there though. Goodall, and there's the change for 2nd place overall, and Carl Foster has now got himself 20 points if he can stay there ahead of Goodall and Scanlon, who's looked a lot stronger in this 2nd race than we saw of him earlier on. James Narge is a good 2 or 3 seconds out front at the moment and pretty comfortable. There's Jack Haverkamp. Jack's currently in the top 10 overall and is leading the steel frames ahead of Chris Spink and Paul Simpkiss. There is Scanlon, then he's now got himself ahead of Robert Goodall as well. So Goodall losing a bit of track time here and certainly losing a few places. Number 99, Paul Simpkiss from Ripponden on the Honda is next out of the final chicane. It's now not a chicane, of course, that used to be Russell's. It's now Murray's. This is your race leader though, number 112. James Narge from Barton Le Clay on the Steelmate Racing Yamaha. This is the battle for 3rd place between Goodall, who's now got back past Andy Scanlon again. Goodall will want that podium. He won't want to see Carl Foster get away too far. 76 going through your shot was Russell Dodds from Northallerton on the GPR servicing bike. Then again we see number 50 there, John Dunn, who's another of our steel frame competitors, who's on the podium in race 1. He finished in 3rd, and this is again the battle for 3rd place. So still Narge leading from Foster. Then it's Goodall there, just ahead of the orange bike of Andy Scanlon. Here's Narge around Coram Curve. Then Carl Foster, who's broken away now from the rest of the pack. In fact, Carl Foster is just on that last lap was the quickest man on circuit. James Narge has got the fastest lap of the race so far, but that last time around Foster was slightly quicker than Narge, although I can't see him being able to close that gap down at the moment. It'll be interesting to know if James Narge has got a pit board though, and whether he's been told that it's Foster in 2nd. There's Goodall then in 3rd place. I wonder what went wrong for him mechanically earlier on in race 1 that cost him the chance of any points. Around Montreal and Chapman then onto the back straight. Once again then for Narge, who coming into this weekend was not in the top 10 of the championship overall. I can tell you that when we see the championship points after this race that he will be. There we see just running wide Jack Haverkamp into Montreal. There's the orange bib to note that he is a novice for this season. Phil Cox just in the background there, number 56, just being lapped now by James Narge, the race leader overall. And there is Foster in 2nd, the yellow R6. So around Coram Curve we go once more. That lead is, I'm guesstimating here as we look at it there and saying it's about 4 or 5 seconds. We'll have a clearer idea once we get round to the start finish straight. There is just a tail ender being lapped by Goodall and Scanlon as they gingerly make their way around Murray's. That tail ender there was 69 Aaron Mellish on the Team Diesel Honda. So the leaders go through. We just saw Foster second. There is Goodall and Scanlon in third and fourth place. Sam Nicholson, by the way, is currently in sixth place. He's behind Mark Foster, who's recovered. Bloomfield is seventh, ahead of Haverkamp, who leads the steel frames. Then it's Ryan Cooper, who we saw stopping earlier on. He's making great progress and he's going to get some points. There is Sam Nicholson, just mentioned him a moment ago, in sixth place on the Motorpoint Derby Yamaha. Paul Simpkins is looking good for a steel frame podium at the moment. He's ahead of John Dunn. And this here is number 56, Phil Cox, who we saw again a moment ago. He's about to get lapped by third place rider Goodall. There he is, number 75, and Andy Scanlon on the orange R6 is trying to capitalise here on any form of mistake that's made by Goodall. Scanlon, who won at Donington Park in filthy conditions and was doing a rain dance here yesterday, hoping that we might get a wet day, because it certainly seems to be beneficial to him. Exiting Murray's then onto the centre straight once more, and the last lap flag is out. Now, on that last lap, I don't want to worry James Narge, but he has just cruised a little and he's losing ground, shall we say. He's fully aware of the situation that's going on behind him, but Carl Foster's not giving up. He's still in second place. This is number 69, Aaron Mellish. He's about to be lapped by the riders in 5th and 6th place. That was Mark Foster. In fact, there he is, number 36, Mark, who is in 5th ahead of Sam Nicholson there, number 2. So James Narge, it looks like, is going to take the double win here on Sunday at Snetterton, and will get his name in the frame. And you can see there that he's rolled off, because just in the background is that yellow R6 of championship leader Carl Foster, who's not giving up, and probably deep down inside is thinking, I hope he just rolls off a little more so I can have a go at him on the start-finish straight. Still Goodall, it looks like, going to take third place there ahead of Andy Scanlon. There's number 28, Martin Bloomfield, ahead of the steel-framed leader Jack Haverkamp, who's not giving up on this one and looks to go round the outside. The checkered flag is out and Narge is going to win this one, but only just. There's Carl Foster, who's done an excellent job considering what happened in the early stages of that race, to take second overall, and he'll extend his championship lead. It was Robert Goodall that took third overall in the end, ahead of Andy Scanlon, and Mark Foster, Carl's brother, finishes in 5th place ahead of Sam Nicholson. So we have the top 3 there: James Narge, Carl Foster and Robert Goodall, and in the steel frames Jack Haverkamp the winner from Chris Spink and Paul Simpkis. And so the championship standings heading into Lincolnshire: Carl Foster it is with a 65-point advantage over Robert Goodall. Andy Scanlon is 3rd, Cooper is 4th, then it's Martin Bloomfield and Sam Nicholson. And in the steel frame, Jack Haverkamp it is still with the lead, but only just ahead of Brad Davey, Chris Spink, Neil Harvey, Ian Evans and Aaron Mellish. Right then, next out onto the circuit will be the Thundersport 500s. We'll be back just after this break with race 2. Welcome back. The Grid Girls are ready, and we are ready also for the Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500 Race 2. There's Joe Barton just pointing to his sponsor on the side and team, HB Motorcycles. There is 53 Rob Morby. Richard Blunt here, number 13. Just one more race left, Richard, and then you can get yourself back on that plane out to Spain. There's Josh Leaning. He was 3rd in race 1 and had that camera on board. We'll also have a camera out on Jack Tynan's bike for this race, number 96, the Sky Blue Machine. And if the race is anything like what we saw earlier, we're in for a corker. Here is Jack Tynan's camera on board. That's his front mudguard, and away from the line we go. That's Pete Bardell, the race winner from earlier, just alongside him. And now we tip into turn 1, and Joe Barton it is that has the early advantage, number 106 from 13, Richard Blunt. And then it's Josh Leaning, number 121. Another rider going straight on there, the long way round. That happened earlier on. This time it's number 45, Chris White from Hornsey, who has gone wide. There's number 32, Will Leaning, and he's already made it further than he did in race 1 by coming around Chapman Curve. He's just up ahead there of number 199, Sam Smith from Flitwick on the Bramwell relocation sponsored bike. Now on board with Josh Leaning, looking back, and that's Pete Bardell that he's got past as we head here into Brundle, the left-hander, and then right at Nelson. I'm going to call it the S's from here on in, because I'm sure we're going to get some jaw-dropping action here in the Thundersport 500s. Now we see the front camera of Jack Tynan. That just up ahead is number 53, the Senior Cup champion, Rob Morby, that he's just disposed of, or nearly. Rob says, yeah, well, I think I've just about had enough of you. I'll close the door on you as we head into Murray's. It's Barton, 106, that leads from Blunt, then Bardell, then Josh Leaning, Morby, Tynan, Will Leaning. We just saw a quick shot of Jonathan Perry. There's John O'Toole. Perry not quite as strong here as he's been at previous rounds this season. He'll look to put that right, I'm sure, when we get to Cadwell. But Joe Barton, who has won 2 races here already this weekend, at the moment leads. Just slightly wide there for Josh Leaning. We're now on board with Jack Tynan, who goes up the inside of Rob Morby into Montreal. And that just gives you a perfect look as to how tight that hairpin is into Montreal. There's lots of runoff, but it's so easy to get wrong. There's Will Leaning, number 32. We're on board with him now. This is the camera looking up from the tank pretty much at Will as he gets ready to tip into this left-hander here in the S's, and there's already a change here out front. It's Blunt that now has the advantage from Joe Barton, Pete Bardell, Josh Leaning and Jack Tynan. There's Lewis Osler having a look over his shoulder at John O'Toole. Then Matt Snow. 84 is Chris Ashfield. And I've already gone through the top 12 or 13 bikes, which in a blink of an eye can go flying past you. This championship is so awesome. We've got 58, I believe, booked into Cadwell Park at the end of May, all going to be singing over the mountain. Anyone could win that one. Really close to pit wall there now for the Thundersport 500. Richard Blunt it is that had the advantage, but Joe Barton has pulled out of the slipstream and now takes the lead back. Pete Bardell, meanwhile, the race winner from earlier, and you can see how much it meant to him to get that win, is in third up ahead of Josh Leaning. Josh just every time running slightly wide at the moment into Richie's corner. Barton it is that leads from Blunt though. Then Bardell, there's Josh Leaning up ahead of Jack Tynan. So we've got a rear-facing camera on Josh Leaning, number 121, and a front-facing camera on Jack Tynan, number 96. There is the rear-facing camera on Josh, and you can just see number 96 giving a wave. And here is his front-facing camera as he goes past him, and that thumbs up and into 4th place there for Tynan. That's Pete Bardell just up ahead of him there in 3rd. You can see that these guys have got quite a bit of respect for each other. They produce great racing, but also you can just see that they've got huge, gigantic smiles on their faces, can't you, as they head around this Snetterton circuit. Further back, there's some more fun going on. There is Cole Mooney up ahead of Ashfield. Number 73 is Stephen Hall. And so riders fighting for all the places down to 29th at the moment. That's how many riders we've got left in the field here. Across the line we go. Joe Barton it is that leads, the championship leader overall, up ahead of Richard Blunt. Barton has been so consistent so far this year and has won the majority of the races. Blunt though, on his day, we've already seen, he's just won a Golden Era Superbike race. He can really put up a decent fight. There's Cole Mooney. There is Ashfield. He's just lost a few places on that lap, number 84, and has fallen out of the points. This is Will Leaning, number 32, currently just outside the top 8 behind Rob Morby. And there you just see him heading around Montreal and Chapman before going on to the start-finish straight, trying to get every single bit of his body tucked into that Thundersport 500. These are naked bikes, as you can probably see, so slipstream absolutely imperative. The 106 of Joe Barton it is that leads from Richard Blunt. I've got to say that when the Thundersport 500s were first put into the Thundersport GB series in 2009, and we've got a rider that's gone down there, and the bike's out in the middle of the circuit over at the S's, and the rider walks away. I think that was Chris White who's just gone down. So number 45 who went wide earlier on. There's a change there for second as Bardell goes up ahead of Blunt. I was just saying about when this championship first came in, I had no idea that we'd be witnessing racing like this. It has been sensational over the last couple of years as Jack Tynan now moves up into potentially 3rd place. Josh Leaning has just lost a bit of ground on that last lap, so we have a group of 4 that look like they'll fight it out for the win here. Of course, last year we were witnessing some fantastic racing between Carl Smalley, the eventual champion, and Tom Leonard. Pete Bardell there. Oh, I didn't know whether he was going to manage to get that tipped in. We're on board with Jack Tynan in 3rd place. That's Pete Bardell up ahead of him in 2nd. And so Jack Tynan will have Richard Blunt all over the back of him in any second now, and I'm sure you'll see him. Look at the slipstream that Jack Tynan's got here, though, as he goes up towards the back wheel of Pete Bardell and flies past him and looks to move up into 2nd place. Some great camera images here at the Snetterton circuit. That's race leader Joe Barton up ahead, and he's eaten into that as well, but Bardell lets off the brakes and has the inside line into Brundle, into Nelson, the right-hander. Richard Blunt got front view seats of that one, front row seats there for number 13 in 4th. There's a massive gap then back to Josh Leaning, who has lost ground and won't be a part of that leading group. Just saw Cole Mooney there having a look over the left, almost sightseeing as he's going around Snetterton. I'm not sure what's happening there for number 101. There's 106 though, race leader overall, Joe Barton. It is that has this advantage as they go across the line. Well, it's not really an advantage, is it? Pete Bardell has gone from 3rd place now. Oh, thought he was going to have a look up the inside, but Barton shuts the door on him. Joe was fully aware of what happened earlier on. When he got embroiled in these battles, he ended up off the podium. He just wants to stay out front, but these guys are all going to push. Unfortunately, every one of these riders wants to be on the podium. One of them won't be. It's Joe Barton that leads. Further back, this is Josh Leaning. He's fallen into the clutches now of Sam Smith, number 199. Good to have Sam back into the championship again. Sam, who was on the podium last season, you may remember, over in Anglesey. Quite a distinctive colour scheme on that Bramwell relocation Honda, number 199, as he looks to get into the slipstream. But out front, it is Joe Barton that has the lead from Bardell. Now we're on board with Tynan, and Tynan will get some lovely drive out of the S's there and has to just completely move over to the right because Bardell there had to readjust his position because of the line he took through the S's. So Tynan's taken advantage and moves into 2nd place. Now, whilst these two fight it out for 2nd, Joe Barton has just given himself the slightest bit of breathing space, which he will certainly enjoy. It's Jack Tynan though now in 2nd place from Pete Bardell and Richard Blunt. Across the line go the top 4. Then in the background there you can just see Sam Smith has got past Josh Leaning, so Sam Smith is into 5th place ahead of Josh. Josh won't give that one up in a hurry though. Around turn 1 we go, and the 4 riders trying to find a line into Montreal. Slightly wide there from Tynan, and he had to be because that's Pete Bardell who's just pushed him slightly out, and now Richard Blunt has capitalised, and it just goes to show the slightest error made, you go slightly wide and you can lose a couple of places here, and it means vital points. Jack Tynan though uses the slipstream and gets back past Richard Blunt now as we head into the S's. So late on the brakes for these 500s, but Joe Barton looks untroubled now out front. There's, well, that's the largest gap we've seen out front all day so far. It's only probably about 6/10, but in the context of a race like this, that's quite a big lead for Joe Barton. There is Sam Smith up ahead of Josh Leaning. Further back, by the way, Jonathan Perry, Rob Morby leads the Senior Cup, Will Leaning, Lewis Osler and John O'Toole. There is your race leader then, Joe Barton going across onto the start-finish straight then. Pete Bardell, last lap flag out now, and barring any mistakes from Joe Barton, it looks like it's his. This is the fight for 5th, and Josh Leaning hasn't given it up. Here we are on board with him, and he goes past Sam Smith into turn 1. Nicely done there for Josh, who coming into this weekend was 8th overall in the championship, locked on points with his brother Will, who's a bit further back. So Josh is going to come out on top at the end of this weekend. Now these guys all fighting it out for the remaining podium positions. They ain't going to win this race, but one of them won't be on the podium, and I don't know why Pete's looking over his shoulder, because you must know he's there. You have just overtaken him. He now comes up alongside. There's Cole Mooney, and amongst 5 or 6 other riders, there's 17, Dave Moss as well from D side, and now Pete Mardell back into second place again. Jack Tynan in third. Do not count out Richard Blunt in fourth, although Richard at the moment can't find a way through because there are two bikes in his way. They're two abreast into nearly every single corner. There's lots of traffic up ahead there as they go around Coram Curve for the final time. Joe Barton's got this one in the bag by the looks of things. He's dealing with it already. Nicely done there from Joe Barton, number 106, and he will extend his championship lead, but who will be on the podium with him? Pete Mardell there, Jack Tynan are side by side. Blunt has lost it, he's not going to be able to do it. We're on board now with Jack Tynan across the line. The checkered flag is out. Oh, it's close, but Pete Mardell just gets second place, and Jack Tynan in third. A pat on the tank there from the HP Motorcycles race winner Joe Barton. Another thrilling race for the Thundersport 500s. Richard Blunt is the man then that misses out on the podium. He finishes in fourth place, and then 5 seconds further back, Josh Leaning was able in the end to hold off Sam Smith, 5th and 6th. Well, fantastic racing from these guys as ever, and Joe Barton there will take the advantage into Cadwell. It's Rob Morby with a Senior Cup win again, the champion of last year, ahead of Colin Mooney and Stephen Hall. Let's see those championship standings then. Well, Joe Barton is that leads. Jack Tynan is up to second after an excellent weekend here at Snetterton. Jonathan Perry in third, lost a bit of ground this weekend. Blunt fourth. Ben Coyle, who's been injured all weekend sadly, is in fifth. Then Rob Morby, it is with that lead ahead of Colin Mooney in the Thundersport 500 Senior Cup, ahead of Moss, Hall, Mindham and Nick Turner.
Winner of race 2 in the Thundersport 500's championship leader Joe Barton. This is traditionally not always the easiest circuit to come away with a massive lump of points, and you've done everything right this weekend, and even in race 1 you may not have won, but you picked up some solid points.
Yeah, that's what it were about for me, just getting some decent points in. Yesterday I got a good couple of wins and I was really happy with that, but I did fancy a battle, and after race 1 today, battling, I think no, I'm not sure how to win, I just get out of the front. So yeah, it's been really good weekend, so dead happy.
There's obviously still a very long season up ahead, but you must have a few people to thank for now as you have a commanding lead overall.
Yeah, massive thank you to HP Motorcycles, STG Performance, my mum and dad, my girlfriend, and people I forgot to mention last time, sorry, my sister and my niece that came to watch at Donington, really appreciate that. Ian at Classic Race Replicas, and a big thanks to Phil Doody for teaching me everything that I know.
I'm not so sure about that, but we'll let it in.
Thank you.
Don't forget you can catch all the races on the web, also at Thundersport GB, but from here at Snetterton we'll spin our way over to Cadwell at the end of the month. We'll see you then.